Hey you all, also hi to fellow dressmakers. You're welcome to another interesting tutorial. I'm Confidence. In this tutorial, we'll be making a straight skirt with the most comfortable waistband. Oh yes, we'll be making a straight skirt with an elastic waistband and with this very elastic you can see in the video. So if you're interested in something like that, kindly watch this video to the very end and let's get right into it. So I have less than 2 yards of this Ankara fabric and the person I'm working with, her hip circumference is 42 inches. So we'll make it work. First, I'm going to fold it in a way that I have the hip circumference divided by 4 plus extra 1 inch allowance because that's the whole measurement we need for this skirt. It's a straight skirt, yeah? And once I'm done folding it, I'm now going to measure the length. I'll place the length of the skirt on the selvage down like this, then mark the length up here. So I'm doing her whole skirt length minus 2 inches for the waistband, and then I'm marking it as you can see me do it here. Now this will be the where we'll be taking the waist measurement. From that line now, I'll go down to the hip line and then the knee line, which is not needed. Then coming to the waistline now, I'm going to divide her hip circumference by 4 plus extra 1 inch. So I'll mark her hip circumference divided by 4, then I'll be marking extra 1 inch for allowance. I'll mark the same thing on the hip, then I'll take that all the way down. It's a straight skirt. If you had it been we are going for zipper on the waistline, the waist will be kind of contoured and it won't be as big as the hip. But because of the elastic waistband, we are going to have the same thing we have on the hip on the waist too, so that it can pass through the hip. Do you understand that? So I'm simply going to cut out this shapeless thing you're seeing here because we're making a straight skirt. Then after cutting that, I'll fold my fabric again, then measure to see that it will contain what's already cut out. Then place that on it this way. Make sure you're also matching up selvage to selvage. Yeah, and you can see that I kind of added zipper allowance on the center back. I totally forgot what I was going for, but before sewing, I remembered and then I had to trim off that excess you can see on the center back. So it's just going to be the same thing you have on the front that you have on the back, except you're going for some kind of slit. Yeah, then you have to add the allowance for the slit, but it's just a straight slit that I'm going for the back. So after cutting the skirt out, I have this left out of the less than 2 years that I'm using. Then now I'm going to measure her hip circumference plus at least 4 inches. I need to have excess instead of shortage. But because this will not be enough for the whole of the waistband, if I fold it this way, you can see how small it is. So I will just go ahead and cut it out here. Then the fabric I'm using for the top for this skirt, that's what I'll be using to cut out the same thing I have on this Ankara now. So after cutting out the lining for the skirt, this is what we have. I cut the lining in a way that it's 2 inches shorter, or let's say 1 inch shorter than the actual skirt, as you can see it here. I did the same thing for both the front skirt and then the back skirt. Now we have 4 pieces for the back. That's 2 pieces of the lining and then 2 pieces of the Ankara fabric. Then this is the waistband. This is how much I have prepared it. I went ahead to cut out another Ankara fabric, then join it together and then fold it on both ends. Do you get? Just the same way you prepare your waistband. It's nothing serious. Next thing I'll be doing now is to take the front skirt this way, then spread it open. Then I'm going to place my lining this way on the hem. Then I'll go ahead and sew it here. After sewing it there, I'm going to sew it on the two sides and then leave the waistline open so that after turning it to the right side, I'll have to top stitch it on the waist to hold the lining and then the Ankara fabric, just something like this. So I have turned it out and then ironed it out neatly, and then I did the same thing with the back pieces too. The next thing I'll be doing now is to go ahead and place the back this way, the down part going to the down part, right side facing right side, and then I just marked somewhere that I want to use as the center back, which is not even needed. It's just a straight skirt. I keep saying that. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to just get the measurements. On the waistline, I'm going to divide her hip circumference by 2. then mark what I have left. Yeah, measure what I have left and share it equally on both sides. I'll go to the hip line and do the same thing. The hip circumference divided by 2, I'll mark it. Then I'll measure what I have left and share it equally on both sides of this skirt. Then from that hip line down, the measurement I have on the hip, I'm going to take it all the way down. The same measurement I have on the hip, I'm going to maintain that all the way to the end of the skirt. Then now, like I said, I just marked somewhere that I want to use as the center back. It's not necessary. So what I'm going to do now is to also do the measurement so that I will know the allowance I'll be using to stitch the center back and on the side. So here I'm measuring her hip circumference divided by, yeah, her hip circumference on the waistline. Then I mark the allowance I have left and measure it and share it equally on both the side and then the center back. Do you get? But the measurement I have on the side is just the same thing I have on the side of this front skirt. Do you get? Now I'll start from the waistline and measure down to where I want the slit to start. Then I'll mark it. That's where my stitches will be stopping. Then I'm going to place the front skirt to the back skirt this way and stitch on the marked allowance. After doing that, this is what the skirt is looking like. Straight skirt is so easy to make. So after joining it, like stitching it or closing the sides, I had to press open the seam lines and you can see what it's looking like. Then the center back, this is what I did. After sewing to where I want the slit to start, I had to fold in the allowance. Yeah, and then use my hemming gum to hold it down as you can see it here. The next thing I'll be doing now is to open it on the center back so that we can walk freely with the waistband. Just something like this. Since you already saw it, it's going to be easy for you to work with it later. Okay. Then now I'll trim all this excess I have on the waistline and then bring in my waistband, the already prepped waistband this way. Now I'm going to place it as you can see me do it here, and I'm making sure that the fabric I'm using for the skirt is just how I'm placing it on the waistline. So I'm going to join it here. Then after that, I'm going to turn it over and top stitch on the other side. Then afterwards, this is what it's looking like. So I have to go this route because I do not have a serger. Normally, you're just supposed to like work with the elastic first, prepare the elastic waistband first before you now join it to the waistline. But since you can do it this way, I mean, why not? So after joining the waistband now, the next thing I'll be doing now is to go ahead and sew going to the top like this. I'm going to sew about 0.25 there. Just stitch it down straight all around the waistband. Okay. Then I'll come to this part too that I joined the waistband to the waistline of the skirt. Yeah. I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing about 0.25 there all around the waistband. Make sure it's straight. Then now I'll measure what I have left. I have 2 inches. Now I'm going to share it into 4, meaning that I will be marking half inch, half inch, half inch, half inch. And this way I will have 4 casings to pass through my elastic. Do you get? So just follow the same process that you see me do here. But just make sure that the casing you're creating will be enough for your elastic to pass through. Okay. So I'm going to create a casing using this half inch I marked here. You can decide to mark it all around if it will be easier for you to maintain a straight line, but I can do it while on my sewing machine. So now I'm going to go over and then sew it straight the line that I marked. And remember I said you should create a casing that your elastic will pass freely in it with no obstruction. So after doing that, these are the casings and you can see how neat and straight this is looking. So I have 4 casings now, meaning that I will be cutting out 4 elastic for each of the casing. Now, for the measurement you'll be needing for the elastic, you're going to measure your waist circumference divided by 2. Okay, so her waist is 34. When you divide that by 2, you're going to have 17 inches. Now you're going to add 2, 3 or 4 inches to this depending on how comfortable you want it around your waist. Here I'll be doing 3 inches, meaning that I'll be having 17 plus 3, 20 inches. I'll cut this out, then I'll use it to cut another 3 pieces. You're going for 4 pieces, yeah? Another thing you can do is to divide the hip circumference by 2 and add how much ease you want to it. Okay, so after cutting all of this out, I'm now going to take my safety pin, then pass it through in one of the elastic this way, on one end of the elastic this way. Then I'm going to be passing it through the casing that I have created on the waistband. I'll start from the first one this way. So I'll gently pass this, yeah, just the same way you can see me do it. And then just before the elastic goes all through inside the casing, do you get? Just before it gets all in, you're going to secure it on the end this way. You can decide to stitch it down on your sewing machine, or you can do like me. I will be using my pin to just hold it down there. So this already went in about 1 inch before I could catch it. But yeah, I'll be pinning it down there. Then I'll continue passing this through until I get to this other end of the waistband. And when I get to the end, I'm going to stretch it so that I can take out the safety pin. Then I'm going to pin it down. Just watch what I'm doing here. Okay, so you pass it once you get to the end, you're now going to stretch it in a way that you take out your safety pin, then you pin it down to secure the elastic on your waistband. You're going to repeat the same thing with the other 3 casings. Now, if you're having a hard time passing this, let's say your casing is a bit tight than the safety pin you're working with, you're going to pass your safety pin through your elastic this way on one end. Then you're going to take your sellotape like this, and then you're going to wrap it around the head of your safety pin this way, in a way that you are securing your safety pin and the pin itself, that's the needle itself, okay, so that it won't keep popping out. By the time you're done wrapping it around, you can see that this is now firmly secured, and this will even ensure easy passage. It will be passing freely because of the cellular tape you wrapped around it, which will serve as a nylon and will make it pass through. So you're going to repeat the same thing, pass it all through. Once before the elastic gets all in, you're going to secure it, and then you continue passing it until you get to the other end of the elastic.
My eyes on you, babe. Is it love at first sight? Turn on the lights, see the mesh you made. 1, 2, in love with you. 3, 4.
Now, after you're done, you're now going to go over to your sewing machine, and then you're going to stitch it down here. I even had to stitch twice just to secure the elastic. I do the same thing for this other side. Then now you're going to match up the center back this way, and then you're going to sew it following the initial stitch line you have there. Then after that, you iron it out neatly, and then your skirt is ready. This is so easy to make, and it's even good for people into ready to wear, so that you don't have to worry about the zipper being too tight or something like this. This would be firm on the waistline and will be comfortable too. And with this, we've come to the end of our tutorial today. You let me know what you think about this, and let me know if you'll be trying this, and I'll see you in my next one. Be good. Bye.